forecast. Alrighty folks, I'm Senior Meteorologist Bill Alexander, and this is our look from Snoopy's, looking across Laguna Madre back towards the JFK Causeway, where you've got moderate traffic out there, but you've got all that murkiness out there as well. You can see that on the satellite radar image here, a few little showers down near Baffin Bay, which may or may not be real. That could be false echo. I've seen that a couple of times recently, but you are looking at that heavy overcast. It's a little clearer out west, but there's still some patches of very low clouds out there as well. As we mentioned earlier, there are a lot of particulates in the atmosphere, and that's making that murky sky scenario. It's also probably eye and lung heart irritation, so you need to be careful if you're spending time out there. It only gets worse tomorrow. More on that in a second. Temperatures in the 80s and 90s across the state, almost the century mark in Del Rio. And if you look across our neck of the woods, 80s and 90s, it is warm. It is quite humid out there. But this evening, it's going to be slow to come on down out of those 80s. And we're going to only barely dip into the upper 70s overnight, and that's because of these dew points. Look at them, very high. A dew point of 79 is something you don't normally see early in May. But there it is. Now what you do see is more southwesterly flow in our westernmost counties come tomorrow, and that drops those dew points down into the upper 50s briefly before the moisture pours back in. But all that serves to do during the afternoon hours is increase daytime heating out there. In the meantime, in the early morning hours, you will see some fog set up out there and along the coastal zones. And you're going to see that again as you move on into Wednesday night into Thursday morning as well. So patches of fog, not widespread, but hit and miss, and that's because of that very high moisture content. That's holding temperatures up tonight, middle to upper 70s, nearly 80 degrees for a low temperature at the Naval Air Station tomorrow morning. And just plain hot tomorrow. You're going to see highs from the lower 90s to near 100 or over 100 degrees. Even along the coastline, you're going to be in the 80s for your high temperature. Pretty unusual for May. So the wind actually takes a little vacation on Wednesday. It becomes fairly light and variable, and then it starts to pick up again as you move on into the second half of the week. There is a major change coming up, though, but take a look at this. This is Wednesday afternoon. Heat index value is 110 and above, and this is in the category of being really dangerous. That's why the heat advisory for tomorrow. But if you think it's going to get better Thursday, think again. We're looking at more of the same, excessive heat out there. Finally, you get a relief from it on Friday, and there's a good reason for that. You got a cold front coming in. But still looking at that heat advisory. And this is only for tomorrow. You're going to see it again for Thursday as well. So if you've got planning on outdoors, plan on the extreme heat as well. If you want to get away from it, there's some morning fog and then partly cloudy and windy in the afternoon. Only in the lower 80s in the coastal waters. In the water about the same temperature with a southeast wind gusting to around 25 knots. That's going to make for choppy bays and 3 to 6 foot seas. At least the rip current risk is low for tomorrow. But here's the change coming up. You've got a front that'll be slowly working its way south and eastward. Notice all the moisture ahead of it. That front actually makes it in here Thursday night, and that will mark a nice change for us. It'll be cooler and drier, at least briefly, but the change also involves this upper level disturbance out west that'll draw moisture back in over that slightly cooler air and begin a rain process that'll last several days. And we're talking about the opportunity for an inch or more of rainfall. And we're going to be looking at some models because some of them are giving us about an inch and some of us are giving it way more. So we're going to be looking at that carefully. Overnight tonight, very warm and humid. And as we move through the next 7 days, extreme heat Wednesday and Thursday, and then that chance